guys, the fact of the matter is, look at teams who've signed running backs to big deals in recent years where we've had a chance to see that deal play out. It has not, like Todd Gurley, they didn't have to even redo his deal, and they did. And look where he is now. Do you think the Rams wish they could have like a take back on that one, a do-over on that one? Dalvin Cook is explosive. And Dominique, I get the sense I think he's better than you think he is, in fact. But the running back position, particularly for an injury-prone back, is not smart to pay until you absolutely have to. And until he shows that you're really going to have to pay him and that you can't win without him, I don't know that they do. My proposal for all of this, by the way, and this is not original to me, others have proposed similar things, you need a running back exception in the NFL. Running back is a super athletic position. Fans love to watch them. It used to be a glamour position. There's a lot of talent there. But because of the nature of football and the rules changes constantly through the years favoring the forward lateral, the running back position has been devalued. The beating they take, the fact that you don't have to pay guys in the beginning of their career, and by the time it's time to pay them, you can franchise them, and by the time that's up, the running back only has a few years ahead of him of prime productivity, if that, so he never really comes into his payday. I think the NFL should consider a running back exception. I know other positions. What about this position, that position? I think an exception for this position is warranted, given the evidence that it wouldn't count against the cap, or you have a special budget for it or something like that, because Dalvin Cook is worth, in an absolute sense, a whole lot of money. But in the reality of the NFL, not as much.
Maybe some sort of exception with a kicker if you hit certain benchmarks, or an opt-out clause in contracts only for running backs, something that allows them to get compensated. I think all those are interesting things to put on the table. However, I'm going to disagree with you on whether they should pay him. And you're right. You probably like Dalvin Cook a little more than even I do, so I don't have to convince you how good he is. And the numbers you suggested I have right here, the QBR of the team of Kirk Cousins obviously goes up to 61 from 58 with Cook on the field. It goes his completion percentage, 71% to 66. Yards per attempt, 8.5 to 7.4. Touchdown to interception ratio is 15-1 with him on the field versus 10-5 with him not on the field. So his value to the offense cannot be understated. But the thing that bothers me a little bit, and I'm an ex-player, but I fall into the analytics crowd, and I believe in a lot of the analytics, and I love to read and research that stuff and set up my own little rudimentary spreadsheets to get some insight. So I'm not going to knock the analytics crowd, but I do believe, just in general, as life philosophy, absolutes are for children and dumb people. Like, if you are incapable of sorting through thoughts on your own and making a case-by-case analysis, I think that's a problem. You give absolutes to children because you're like, hey, kid, never cross the street without the flashing walk symbol because it's dangerous. But I cross the street without the flashing walk symbol all the time because I'm a grown-up and I can look both ways. So I feel it's the same way.
At your height, that might be dangerous.
If you say absolutes, like never sign a running back, that doesn't take into account the context. And maybe the Vikings are playing football in an antiquated way. Maybe they built their team unwisely, but the fact of the matter is their team is built around the running attack. Their team is built around Dalvin Cook's ability. And it's got even more intense when they got rid of Stephon Diggs. So, like, they now need Dalvin Cook more than they ever have in the past. And I could understand if you say build your running attack by committee. Like, I can get behind that because that makes sense with analytics. That's what I would try to do. But that's not what they did. They took Dalvin Cook in the first round, and they built a team to make Dalvin Cook succeed. So you got to commit to that at this point. And Dalvin Cook, I think it's interesting to also note the language that Dalvin Cook has used suggests that this should get done, because he's not saying I want to set the market. He's not saying I want to be the highest paid running back. He said I want to get paid something reasonable. And $1.3 million is not reasonable for the best, most important player in your offense, especially when you extend the quarterback who still had guaranteed money on his deal. So I know you agree that Dalvin should get paid, but I don't think that you agree that the Vikings should pay him. And I think they should.
Yeah, exactly. I hope he gets his money. Dalvin, I hope you get your money. It's not that I'm rooting against you. It's the question of what I would do were I the team. You know, the thing about like making a guy play out and then franchise tagging him is not that you're saving money per year. It's that you don't have to commit dollars that kill you in the future to a guy who you don't know what's going to happen. And Cook has never played more than 14 games in a season, which he played last year. Now, he scored 13 touchdowns in those 14 games, the way McCaffrey scored 15 touchdowns in those 16 games. But for a guy who can't stay healthy or has had a hard time so far, to say I don't know what's reasonable to him, but at least you want 3 years worth of guaranteed money, right? It's not the per annum. It's the fact that you got to guarantee $30+ million to a guy where he's averaged 10 games played a season.
Three-year guarantee. He's 24, and the analytics that you and I both believe in suggest that running backs don't fall off till 29 or 30. He's 24. If they sign him to a 3-year extension right now, he will earn that money. He will have the value. And the only argument against him is, and you see how much he's getting paid, he was second to Christian McCaffrey in yards from scrimmage last year, and he is way down on that list. Yeah, so that's fine.
But look at the list.
I completely understand
like David Johnson.
Ezekiel Elliott was a beast last year.
You wish they had the David Johnson money back?
That Zeke Elliott was a beast last year. So the thing is, you're very smart, Max. Let me explain this to you, and I know you'll understand this. I agree with you. That's not how I would build my team. But that's how they did build their team. So you're saying that's not what I would do. Yeah. Well, if you are dropped in that situation right now, you have to make the decision right now. You have to make it based on all the information, the decisions that were made leading up to this point. The right decision right now is to pay Dalvin Cook. So they shouldn't have done all that. But they're in the position that they are now where they have a Super Bowl caliber team. They need their best offensive player, especially since their second best offensive player they shipped out of town.
The question is, don't throw good money after bad on the one hand, or you set the table, now it's time to eat on the other. Like, this is what you plan to do, so now do it. But on the other hand, if you've made a mistake so far, don't continue making it.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming, sports, and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.